Hello, I'm Brian Van Camp. I'm Fire Chief at South Bay Fire District 8.
I'm Brandon LeMay, and I'm the Chief of Operations here at the South Bay Fire Department.
I'm Leslie Demich, and I live out on Johnson Point. I've been out there for about 30 years.
2023 is the 70th anniversary for Fire District 8. In 1953, a series of neighbors that got together, formed the districts, collectively built fire stations and borrowed fire apparatus and responded to calls over the years. The helping neighbor concept was the basis of the formation of both Fire District 7 and 8 and has continued through the years to the current practices that we have at the Fire District. Fire District 7 and Fire District 8 merged in 2014. Our Fire District has four guiding principles. One is the fact that we provide career and volunteer staffing to meet our service commitments. Our organization is accountable and transparent in what it does. The community in the district drives the service levels that we have. All financial decisions ultimately are at the public level, the voter level, the taxpayer level. We are primarily funded through property tax. This is established by an assessment by the county. The limit in the state of Washington for Fire District is $1.50 per $1,000 of assessed value of your home and property. In 2023, the district received $1.20 of that $1.50.
Our goal is to educate our community on the challenges that we're facing and the goals we're trying to achieve to better support the community.
We work very hard to achieve high levels of service. We measure that service that we provide through what we call target levels of service.
We've had the opportunity to avail ourselves of their services twice. Well, the first time they saved our house, the second time they saved my husband's life.
The target level of service for fire is having at least 4 of our firefighters respond to a fire scene within 10 minutes. The target level of service for emergency medical services, providing 2 or more EMTs to the scene within 8 minutes of receiving the call.
The fire department got there just as quickly as you can imagine.
Some of the challenges that we're having in providing service that meet the target levels of service are the increasing call volume.
There's been more houses, more development, there's more traffic, there's certainly a lot more people out there, and it's not the quiet place that we first moved to 30 years ago.
From a beginning of an annual call volume of approximately 24 or less, we are responding to nearly 1,300 calls a year for fire, for EMS calls, and for other public service calls.
My husband was cutting a tree down. A portion of the tree that he was cutting fell and broke his neck.
About 3/4 of all of our call volumes EMS. We need to have individuals that are qualified as EMTs. We need to make sure that people are qualified as firefighters. We need people who are qualified as driver operators on the apparatus. If they aren't qualified to drive the engine, the wheels don't turn and the water doesn't flow. We need somebody to be in charge. And we have to have all the right people with the right qualifications, and we need enough of them in order to staff these apparatus.
When they first arrived, I was kind of surprised that they brought the fire truck, but when they did, they had the jaws of life right there for us. And they were able to get him to the hospital quickly and not only saved his life, but saved his mobility. And that wasn't going to be possible if it hadn't been for the care that they took and the knowledge they had about how to handle the broken neck and how to handle a situation like that, not just for the EMTs, but for the fire crew that was there to free him.
We're trying to staff 2 stations 24/7. And right now we don't have enough staffing in order to make that happen. One of the biggest challenges we've had is a decline in volunteerism. Most of the volunteers that come through are looking to get hired in a career position, and that's great, we're proud of them. But with the decline of our volunteerism, we're finding more and more need for career staff. Our full-time career staff are required to be fire qualified, EMT qualified driver operators.
As part of our strategic planning process, we have developed budget-based plans that estimate the service levels that will be delivered to the community. Plan A is the primary strategic direction we've adopted and are proposing. It would stabilize our volunteer staffing and over time, increase the staffing level from 18 career staff that we have today to 28. It would reduce the average response time that we have from approximately 7.5 minutes to about 6 minutes throughout the district. It would also provide for full funding of our capital asset plan, which covers the self-funded replacement of apparatus and equipment and facilities operations maintenance costs.
With Plan A, we're trying to increase our staffing. We'd love to be able to staff 2 stations 24/7, meet our target levels of service by getting 4 firefighters on scene within 10 minutes to fight a fire, and we're able to get 2 EMTs on scene within 8 minutes for an EMS call.
While we already knew that 3 firefighters were more effective than 2 firefighters on an engine, we wanted to run some experiments to learn more and gain a better idea as to the extent of the value of the 3rd firefighter.
Capital, Battalion 8's on scene with single-story medium house, the working fire.
It's important to note that by law and for safety reasons, in most cases, 2 firefighters can only make entry into a burning building when there are at least 2 firefighters on the outside in the event of an unforeseen emergency where the interior firefighters need rescued. We ran the same basic drill with all conditions being identical, except that the drill on the top has 2 firefighters on the engine, while the drill on the bottom has 3 firefighters on the engine. In both scenarios, there were 4 primary goals and benchmarks to measure that we wanted to confirm and timestamp as they occurred. Benchmark 1 is to get 1 hand line deployed out and flow water. Benchmark 2 is to have 2 firefighters on the outside so that 2 firefighters could enter the building. Benchmark 3 is to locate the fire and begin the firefight. Benchmark 4 is for firefighters to complete a search of the entire structure and check for occupants. The drill timer begins with the arrival of the first on-scene engine. With both scenarios, the battalion chief in the SUV is the incident commander and arrives on scene at the same time as the first engine. The battalion chief is counted as one of the 2 out firefighters. Both drills are shown at the same runtime.
Driver operators now getting the pump established, getting the pump set.
In order to make entry with a crew of 2, several things need to happen. Handline needs to be deployed, water needs to be shown, tools needs to be staged, and the door needs to be forced open. In the top scenario, we can see that the company officer is still working on getting the handline deployed. In the bottom scenario, we can see that the firefighter and the company officer are working at the same time. The company officer is forcing open the door while the firefighter is getting the handline ready for attack.
Handline out with water displayed now.
The top team has met benchmark 1. The bottom team has met benchmark 1, flow water.
Up front.
Capital, South Bay Command. We have 2 and 2 out. We'll make an interior attack.
The bottom team has hit benchmark 2, make entry. The bottom team has met benchmark 3 and is fighting the fire.
Command copies. Good knock on the fire. Continuing primary search.
The bottom team has met benchmark 4, search the building.
The top scenario, the company officer is actually applying water from the outside to do the best he can to help combat the fire while he's unable to make entry into the building. Comparatively, we can see the bottom scenario, they've already met all 4 benchmarks.
Engine 83 from command. You guys are going to be on deck, side alpha. 83 receive, on deck, side alpha.
Now this time Engine 83 has arrived on scene, and they're able to do support functions for the crew.
In the top scenario, we've met benchmark 2, which is to get 2 firefighters inside because we have our 2 firefighters out.
Command copies. Good knock on the fire. You're going to continue.
The top team has met benchmark 3 and is fighting the fire.
On the bottom scenario, the second team is actually able to make entry for additional assignments, such as checking for fire extension, shutting off utilities, or making a secondary search in case there's any more occupants that were missed.
The top team has met benchmark 4, search the building.
The bottom scenario is consistent with our Plan A we're trying to achieve for our community.
In order to implement Plan A, we would need sufficient funding that would be provided through 2 ballot measures. The first ballot measure is this fall to restore our levy rate from $1.20, which it currently is, to $1.50, which is the statutory limit. It also will require voter approval of an excess levy in the fall of 2024 for collection in 2025. If voters approve both the levy restoration in 2023 and the excess levy in 2024, the levy rate would raise to $1.95. Subsequent years, the levy rate would go down slightly, with 2026 at about $1.90, and in 2027 would be estimated at about $1.85. During our planning process, we also considered 3 other plans that would be based on reduced levels of revenue that we have in providing commensurate service. The information on each of Plan A, B, C, and D can be seen on our website. It shows detailed levels of what our estimated staffing, what the impacts to our service levels, and what the cost to the taxpayer will be.
In August, there will be an opportunity for our citizens to vote. We just want to make sure everybody's educated and we've communicated with everybody on the challenges and the goals we're trying to achieve. In the end, it's up to the community to decide what level of service they'd like to see out of their fire department.
To learn more about the South Bay Fire Department, including resources, services, volunteer opportunities, and for detailed information on proposed plans, visit southbayfire.com.